finest. Juice.
You're playing at the Haunt this Sunday. So I've never seen your live show before. So I wonder if you can tell me what kind of live show you do. Are you really performative, or do you just let the music do the talking?
It depends on the album that I'm promoting and what the songs demand. For this tour, it's very emotional, very cathartic, and much more about respecting the energy between the audience and the music rather than having a big show and that's entertaining. It's a little more grounded. If that maybe is a little abstract sounding, but I don't really know how to explain it.
Okay. Of course, it is a personal album. Okovi, is that the right pronunciation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So a couple of themes that kind of stood out at me. First of all, identity, because the first track, Doma, means home, and I know that you have quite a complicated genealogy, so I wonder if you can tell me some of the ways that you explored your own identity in this album.
Yeah, I mean, from a sort of like ancestral context, I'm American and my family's been here for a minute, but I have a complicated sort of ancestral story. My family were originally German, but they moved to Russia and they were there for hundreds of years. And so there's this strange hybrid of culture. And it's still very much a part of my family, even though we live over here. And it's something that I grew up with, and I'm just learning to explore more kind of like as an adult and to figure that out. And then also Slovenian heritage, which I've, been also really interested in understanding as well on a deeper level. But also I kind of on a more micro level, just the experience of moving away from home and trying on these different cities and different places and feeling like I couldn't find home, couldn't build a new home. I think because the home that I was born into was so strong, and so the roots were so deep that I just could never recreate that. And so a lot of this record is about moving back home to Wisconsin and reconnecting with those roots that were always there, but I refused to acknowledge until now.
Okay, cool. And how did you write it? I know that you were kind of in isolation for quite a lot of it, but do you just write it all yourself?
Yeah, I write everything myself, and I produce and write at the same time. And then it's not until the end that I'll bring someone else in and help me kind of make sense of things and tighten things up and really bring it to life. So, all the songs were written on my own, and then at the end I brought in my friend and co-producer Alex DeGroat to help me just kind of make it a presentable, cohesive piece of work.
Okay. I wonder if we can talk about the word Gothic, because it gets used with your music quite a lot, but I don't necessarily listen to it and think that you're particularly engaging in like Gothic music. Maybe more like a Gothic tone. For example, reading your track list, there's words like exhumed, ash to bone. How do you engage with Gothic as a concept without necessarily going down a Gothic route in your music?
I think the key is that I'd never think about it. I mean, I don't, it's hard because a lot of the things that I like would be considered goth, I'm very interested in horror movies. I'm very interested in the grotesque and difficult aspects of life and of art. And a lot of Gothic art touches on that as well, or Gothic stuff, for lack of a better word. But when I make music, I'm never thinking about how can I fit inside this particular category, or how can I make something that's similar to these other people that are goth. I don't think about goth ever. Okay. It's not something that I'm conscious of or that I try to fit into. I just, they're just aspects of what I do that are in line with those maybe, more darker sects of art. But it's just not a conscious thing that I think about. So I think there might be some overlap, and I have a lot of respect for a lot of the bands and art and movies that would be considered goth, but it's not something that I consciously try to fit into.
Can you tell me about Soak? Because it's a fascinating song, And I just wonder how you had the idea for it.
Well, I was working on the song, the music aspect. I was producing the song. And then when it came to singing the words, usually I'm just in my studio alone and I'm just, whatever comes out, comes out. And I just felt for some reason, I just felt compelled to sing this song from the perspective of somebody that was about to die by the hands of a serial killer. And it's something that I've been thinking about a lot, just the idea of vulnerability in the world and society as a woman and as a small person. I'm 5 feet tall. But also as just in general, the idea of getting your life stolen from you by somebody else that has no regard for your own past. And I was just thinking about all the shades and the feelings that I would feel if that were to happen to me, the resentment and anger, but also the sympathy and I just felt like there would just be so many conflicting emotions that would be happening at once, and trying to understand that. Then I ended up writing this song as a means to try to understand that.
Okay. For anyone listening who doesn't know, it is written from the perspective of a serial killer's victim who kind of finds defiance by making the decision to die rather than see herself as a victim. It's a fascinating song.
Thank you. Yeah.
Do you have any ideas for... I know that it's still relatively early, but quite often people are like already on the next project. Do you have any idea of what you might like to explore with your next album?
I think, I'm not necessarily a new artist anymore. I've had about 4 or 5 records. And at this point, I'm just curious and exploring something that maybe doesn't fit inside the context of like the typical record where there's 10 songs, 4 minutes each, verse, chorus. I'm thinking about maybe doing something a little more long form or abstracted like an opera just to change up the form, because I feel like I'm getting to the point where I've done a lot with this particular form of writing an album of songs. And, I like to be surprised. And I feel like it's surprising me less and less. So we'll see.
I heard that you've been singing quite a lot of opera in the woods.
Yes, yeah. In my house, in the woods, all over, yeah.
Brighton's finest. Juice.